for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Monday, April 25th, 2022. For KJCR, the Game Changer, and Unnext Networks, Race Hobbs, I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Tonight, kicking off a new week here on Fade to Black, we welcome very special guest Whitley Strieber joins us for the interview. Tomorrow night, Scott Wolter is here for Templars and UFOs. Yeah, man. Wednesday night, Dave Schrader is with us. We're going to be talking about the rise of the gods on Marvel. It's going to be an incredible conversation. That is Wednesday night. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Coming up, all of my events. Coming up, I'll be speaking at the X Conference May 13th and 14th. And I will be speaking on Friday night. This is an online event. Full info at unxnetwork.com. I will also be hosting Disclosure Fest June 18th. And that's coming up. That's a one-day event, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the Los Angeles Historic State Park in downtown Los Angeles. And just go to disclosurefest.org. I will also be in Egypt with Billy Carson this October. Space is very limited. Please visit forbiddenknowledge.com right now for the complete schedule and info. Links for everything is in the description box below on YouTube, on our social media, and of course over on our website. Wow, what a day today. And yes, you can follow me on Twitter. Twitter is in the news, isn't it? You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. At JChurchRadio. The sandbox on Twitter is hashtag F2B. That is live right there. Right there. It is live. And let's see. Any questions or comments during the show? Hashtag F2BQ. All right, now let's get straight to it. Let's get to the breaking news. Earlier today, in what may be one of the biggest stories of the decade, Twitter agreed to sell itself to Elon Musk in a deal valued at around $44 million, or $44 billion. That's with a B. That's right. Yeah. The deal caps off a whirlwind news cycle in which Tesla and the SpaceX CEO became one of Twitter's largest shareholders and was offered and turned down a seat on its board and bid to buy the company. All of this in less than a month. Under the terms of the deal, shareholders will receive $54.20 in cash for each share of Twitter stock that they own, matching Musk's original offer and making a 38% premium over the stock price the day before Musk revealed his stake in the company. The deal is expected to close this year, and when finished, the world's richest man will be in total control of one of the most influential social platforms. Let's see. He controls space. He controls the future of cars and transportation. And now he has the internet. What could go wrong? All right. Kane Tanaka, the world's oldest person, has died in Japan at the age of 119, according to a statement released by Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. Tanaka, who was born January 2nd, 1903, died on April 19th. Announcing her death on its website today, Guinness World Records said the titles of the oldest living and oldest person living female are currently being investigated and that further details would be announced. Incredible. 119 years old. Now, I watched this yesterday live on TV. I did. And I want to thank my friend Lori Wagner. She called me up yesterday, and she's big into airplanes like I am. She called me. She goes, are you watching Plane Swap today? And I said, let's go. Tell me all about it. We ended up watching it together. She was on the road, but she watched the live feed on her phone, pulled over on the freeway, and I watched it on my big screen. 2 stunt pilots that attempted a first-of-its-kind mid-air plane swap are lucky to be in one piece after things backfired in the skies, sending one plane into a tailspin before crashing to the ground Sunday afternoon in Arizona. And let me explain. So 2 pilots, 2 planes. They're going to put the anyway, put the planes in a dive. They're going to jump out of the planes and move across, skydivers, right? And swap planes and then land the planes. That's what was planned. The skydivers, cousins Luke Akins and Andy Farrington, were trying to jump into each other's planes while in midair, leaving both aircrafts unmanned to then land in and pilot the other's plane safely to the ground. But things went south for the Red Bull-sponsored flight after both Cessna 182 planes went into the air. They went parallel, and intentional nosedives that allowed the pilots to jump out of the doors and begin crossing over to the other plane. The plane that Farrington was jumping into started to spiral out of control, and so he's stuck. And the other pilot, Luke Akins, he got across and he made it in. It was incredible to see live on TV. Nobody was injured. One plane crashed to the ground and the other pilot landed safely. It was incredible. Plane swap. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you can go onto the web and check out Red Bull Plane Swap. It was nuts. It was nuts live on TV. Let's get this show cracking. On this day in history, OTD. 1990, the crew of the United States Space Shuttle Discovery places the Hubble Space Telescope, a long-term space-based observatory, into a low Earth orbit. The world changed on that day. Here's your fader fact. An unnamed woman in 1987 in West London bought a ring for $13, thinking it was a fun piece of costume jewelry. She wore it every day for about 30 years until 2017, when she found out that it was a 26-carat antique white diamond. She immediately auctioned it at Sotheby's for $850,000. I tried to chase down her name. Nah, she went anonymous. She went fully anonymous. All right. Tonight, we welcome very special guest Whitley Strieber's here. calling this the interview. Whitley and I have not done anything on screen on Fade to Black together, as with all of our guests this week. So tonight it's the interview with Whitley. Tomorrow night, Scott Walter is here for Templars and UFOs. Wednesday night, Dave Schrader is back with us. He's going to be talking about the rise of the gods on Marvel. Have you noticed that? And so last night, by the way, Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. And last night, I just got this itch. And I had plans, I stuff I wanted to watch, it's Sunday night. And then it just popped up. Gods of Egypt. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen that in a while. I ended up watching Gods of Egypt last night. And Gerard Butler. I forgot how great that movie truly is. And there you go. So I don't even know why I thought about that. Oh, The Rise of the Gods on Marvel. So there you go. All right. Let me hit this River Moon coffee. Got it right here. Templars and orbs are like peanut butter and jelly. That just popped up in Twitter. Rivermoonwellness.com. River Moon Wellness Fade to Black blend. Yeah. So today it happened. It actually happened. After weeks of speculation, today, Twitter accepted Elon Musk's offer to buy the company and take them private. Yes. Honestly, there are so many takes on what this actually means, and they're endless. They're endless. And I spent a big chunk of my day today reading different comments and articles and what the media had to say about it. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting what is going on out there. And at this point, anything that anybody has to say is pure speculation. And that includes myself. And I think that even Elon is surprised as anyone today that Twitter just tapped out. They did. Seriously. Just basically saying, here you go. Here it is. Twitter is yours. Good luck. And when they had their little meeting yesterday and the word was out that the board was meeting on Sunday, and you have to ask yourself, is this really going to happen? I don't think anybody thought that it would. And that's where it was. But no, Twitter's board unanimously agreed to say, Twitter is yours. Now, here is the first thing that everybody should realize. Twitter will now be owned privately. And whatever Elon decides to do, he can. There will be very little oversight by anyone, if any. It's his to do with what he will. And the only thing that we can hope for is that he will do the right thing, whatever that means. Elon, in very short order, has done some pretty amazing things. One, he has made SpaceX the dominant player in space. There's no question about this. Soon, if not already, he has made the Falcon delivery system the preferred rocket launch vehicle. That's right. With Starlink, he has made and put more satellites in orbit than any country. And in the next couple of years, he will absolutely control his own internet from space. His battery technology, coupled with his car company, Tesla, dominates the future of the transportation industry and the home solar market. And now he has made his move to controlling his corner of social media and the internet in general. That's right. How important is Twitter? Well, let me put it to you this way. When was the last time you heard breaking news of any kind put out on Facebook? That's right. How about YouTube? Well, Jimmy, man, Google owns the internet. I'm asking, when was the last time? It just doesn't happen. We know this. Twitter is the de facto standard for direct communication from companies, world leaders, celebrities, and you. That's right. Now, this is where I'm going to speak to you very frankly, direct and to the point. If I could do what Elon is doing, I would. That's right. I absolutely would. Build a rocket ship for Mars? Absolutely. My own car company? Ditto. My own satellite constellation? Yes, sir. Absolutely. My own AI brain controlling interface under the skin chipset? Sure. Why not? How about my own social media platform? Check that one off too. There is nothing wrong with anything that Elon has done. And you would do it too. If you could, you would. Absolutely 100%. How he spends his wealth is up to him. And sure, he could end world hunger tomorrow. And I see this argument all the time. I see it. I see, well, what about the starving kids? What about electricity for the world? What about heat? What about farming? What about disease? What about all of this? You know, yes, he could end world hunger tomorrow. He could. So could a lot of people. And maybe someday he will. But there's always a but. But he's the world's richest, most influential, and famous person. And with that, he can do whatever he wants. And right now, he wants to buy Twitter. So he did. Now, let's get back to the facts of the case. Twitter is now private. It's private. And Elon's version of freedom of speech may not be yours. Sounds good, too. Sounds good on paper, doesn't it? Absolutely sounds good. Elon says, I want the edit button in there. I want the code to be out there. I want everybody to see the code. When tweets are promoted or demoted, you will see why and who is doing it. Right? Does that include Elon? Well, it's his company, man. He can do whatever he wants. Controlling the news. He's a rich man. I'm just saying, it's a private company. The fact is, and this is a fact, that freedom of speech, the Twitter version, is in control of one person, Elon Musk. That is a fact. And with that, we are putting our trust in Elon. The other fact is, we don't have a choice. All right. You get it? I hope you do. Now, I have always liked Elon. Absolutely. You guys know this. Yeah. From the very start. He's not, at least to me, he's not one of them. No, he's never hit me that way. He is us. He's young. Elon was born in 1971. I was born in 1963. He was born in 1971. He is just 50 years old. He's not going to be 51 until June. He's also somebody with vision for the future. He also smokes weed, right? He listens to rock and roll. He seems pretty hip for a geek. He does. I think he's pretty funny. I think he's in touch. And his tweets, sometimes controversial, are some of the best. But now, almost overnight, he's in the position to become the king of the world. Now, this goes way beyond Gates. It goes way beyond a Zuckerberg or a Bezos. Elon truly owns a chunk of each corner of our world's future. And it's only going to get bigger. The question is, what's next, right? What do you do? What do you do? I mean, Elon has pretty much bought, done, and created everything that you can, right? What's left? Well, I guess it's just buying countries, which technically cannot be done yet. But if anyone can figure it out, and how to start snapping up countries one by one, it'll be Elon for sure. And honestly, I don't think anything is wrong with that either. If a country wants to sell and the citizens of the country say cool, then why not? That's where we are right now. I mean, you can only buy so many planes, islands, rockets, shoes, guitars. The natural next step is your own country, or two or three. 2 years ago, Elon was worth about $27 billion. 2 years ago, 2020, 2 years ago, $27 billion. 24 months later, he's now north of $300 billion and climbing. The next level? Well, he'll be the first trillionaire. Give it a few months. Just to put all of this in focus for you, Canada's GNP for 2021 was $1.6 trillion. And they are currently the 10th strongest country in the world at 1.6 trillion. Elon will pass up the maple leaf in a year or so. Crazy? Yeah, maybe. But he's already richer than 160 countries at the UN. Today's Twitter purchase has let us all know Elon can do whatever he wants. So, how much power and wealth is too much? How much should just one individual have? That's a lot of power. Well, it's too late for that. It's too late for that. We've moved way beyond any chance for consideration here. That's it. He's wrestled control of the world. That's right. Elon Musk is now king of the world. And most of us are okay with it. And we just didn't see it coming. We didn't. Just kind of snuck up on us. The whole thing was just so well played. It's friggin' genius. Now, don't act shocked or surprised by any of it. And when E.T. lands, and they will, they won't say, "Take me to your leader." Nope. It'll be, "Where's Elon?" And I'm okay with that too. Seriously. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tonight on this program, Whitley Strieber joins us for the interview. Tomorrow night, Scott Wolter is here. Templars and UFOs. Wednesday night, Dave Schrader is with us. We're going to be talking about the rise of the gods on Marvel. And Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UNX networks. We'll be right back with Whitley Strieber right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark, with wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber joins us. Tomorrow night, Scott Walter is here. Wednesday night, Dave Schrader. What a great week. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. Tonight, Whitley joins us for the interview. It's the first time we are both on screen at the same time here at Fade to Black. Very excited about that. As someone who has changed our worldview, Whitley is one of the most iconic cultural figures of our time. He is the author of the Communion series of books and many novels ranging from the Wolfen and the Hunger to the Greys and the Alien Hunter series. Communion, the Wolfen, and the Hunger and Superstorm have all been made into movies. Superstorm is called The Day After Tomorrow. His websites, unknowncountry.com and Strieber.com, are right there in social media and also over on our website. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Whitley Strieber. Whitley, good evening, young man. How you doing?
Good evening. How are you? It's good to see you. Good to be back.
Whitley, this is the first time we have been on screen together after all of these years.
Yeah. I'm wondering, am I dying? I look pretty sick.
You've got color.
I've got too much color. I'm all red. Well, anyway, I'll play with it. I can play with it. If I turn green, folks, expect that.
Whitley, a very strange day in the media and for the world. It was announced today that Elon Musk is indeed buying Twitter. Twitter is going to go private and will be in fully controlled by one man, and that is Elon Musk. What'd you think about the news as it broke today?
Well, it's just breaking in my life right now, so I don't care, frankly. He'll probably screw it up somehow, but he's also a genius, so it might be, I guess, what'll he bring back Donald Trump to Twitter and all those guys? I'm sure that's part of it.
Yeah, it could be. I think there's some chatter going on out there too as well. It's just in my opinion, and we've never been quite in a situation like this where a private citizen is in control of so much so quickly.
Yeah, well, he's a very wealthy man, and he's also been lucky and is a genius, and all of his things have worked out fairly well one way or another, and I hadn't really thought about it. I'm focusing. My focus isn't on the outside world very much. I mean, I'm really involved with the visitors, and I can tell you immediately they couldn't care less what happens.
Okay. Let's go right there. The line, "Take me to your leader," right? How many times have we heard that?
They're not interested.
Right. What if they said, "Where's Elon?"
They won't.
And why not?
Because they're not interested in that. They're interested in individuals. They're interested in it's a big, complicated thing, and their interests are in specific individual people. of which there are very, very many more than we realize. And they don't care about, at least as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there may be some who are different, but the ones I'm with just are in a completely different headspace. I'd be amazed if they even knew who Elon Musk was, unless they're into him in some way, which there could be. But they're not. It's just a completely different reality. It isn't this at all. And my main worry is we're going to blow ourselves up before they know there's a problem. and we're not too far from that with the nutter in Russia, that guy Putin, fulminating. And the thing about them is that some of them are primarily interested in souls. That we don't know we have souls because we can't feel them, and you have to learn. It takes you a long time to learn how to feel your soul, but once you do know that, then you become real concerned about, what's going to happen to you after you die. But the 99% of people in the Western world will give lip service to that, but they do not know it. The visitors are there. That's their world. And they want screwed up souls as much as any. I mean, they want everything. So when somebody goes bad, there's going to be someone on the other side who wants that, and it ain't going to be pretty. And that energy, and you have to work very hard toward the good in order to do like my wife did and ascend. I saw her do it, and that's all I really am interested in right now. I'm not interested in the outside world much anymore at all. Elon Musk, Bill Clinton, or is he dead? He could be. I don't know. I'm real concerned about what's going on in the inner world, my inner world, and the inner world of the people around me. That's my concern.
The comment that you just made, that the visitors are only interested in individuals, and I think you said that there's many more than we even think. At the individual level, who are the visitors interested in?
That's a really good question. I wish I could answer it in a simple way. I haven't seen any significant pattern. First of all, there's lots of different entities out there. I personally have interacted with the little gray insectoid people, these dark blue trolls that seem to kind of hang with them, and maybe another level of humanity. In other words, they may be human beings. And I've seen, I saw one of these so-called mantis things, but only very briefly, and it was not huge. It was small. I mean, it was about 5 feet long. And blondes, I've seen a number of those and have interacted fairly extensively with them at one point in my life. And they were concerned about this world, but I think I'm pretty sure they might have gotten their asses thrown out of here, because you don't see them anymore. They don't seem to be, either they left or gave up or got thrown. I don't know what happened to them, but I had a long conversation with one of them once about the environment, and they were real interested in the book I had written about it called Nature's End. And they claimed at the time, and rather pissed me off, to saying that they helped me with the book. Now I understand how that works, but at the time I thought, help me with my book? I didn't even see you. I've never heard of you before. But so they may be more concerned with our world than the others, but I don't think the others. I know one military man who was, all right, he's dead now, who was at Wright Field, who, not my uncle, another one, and not Art Exon. But when I don't want to say his name, because I'm just always concerned that there's all kinds of insane crap going on around this whole area right now. Anyway, he held one of those beings in his arms, dead. And he said it was just definitely a large insect, very large insect, about 2.5 or 3 feet long. And he said, there's no question in my mind. It was an insect and it stank horribly. It had a horrible odor. And he said the fact that they were in this wreckage, he said it almost felt to him like they were something that was being carried, that they weren't in control of anything. But he didn't see one alive. There were some people who did interact with them when they were alive and felt like they were really pretty awesome. But that's all I know about that. I don't know. And I don't think that someone who has probably got a communal mind and maybe a very ancient mind, and because if you have a communal mind, what is your memory like? Because it's housed in millions or billions conceivably of individuals. So it would be like some gigantic computer memory. And it might be that logic becomes a very, very different process when you get to massive deployment of memory. When memory is essentially infinite, it may be that the nature of logic changes. And this would explain to me why they seem to be quite insane. Because I've just been reading for the communion audiobook that's coming out as soon as I can get it out. I've been hassled by so many interruptions, but it's finished except for the introduction. So anyway, I was reading some of the things that happened in the old days. I have not read communion since I wrote it. And I did that because I wanted to wait 10 or 20 years to see what I actually still remembered.
Right.
It turned out I waited nearly 30 years. And I remembered certain things. I remembered the original incident. I remembered something that happened the previous October. And I remembered them very exactly. The memories are the same now as they were then. And there was an incident that happened in March of 1986 that I still remember, but more vaguely. And one of my son's little friends was there, the house, and it was sunset, and she's suddenly says, a little airplane flew through the front, covered with lights, flew through the front yard. And I said, Annie and I looked at each other. We hadn't seen this. And, so we called her parents. We'd already told her parents what had happened to me. We wouldn't have a child up there otherwise. And all the parents were, oh, don't worry about it. We're good with our kids coming up there. They were much more interested in a weekend without their kids than they were in whether or not their kids be suborned by aliens, because they didn't really believe the aliens were real. They thought that was the head stuff. So anyway, I called her dad, and he said she knows nothing about flying saucers or anything like that. Neither did our son. We didn't talk about this with him. Of course, he's 7 years old. So I said to Annie, I think that was when I'd started going out in the woods and trying to signal to them that I was ready for more. Not because I wasn't scared of them. That is far from true. But because they were real. They were real. And they had ended up screwing around with me. And I was really interested. I hadn't started writing communion at that point. We were talking about it, but I hadn't started writing it. But what happened when they came, they held up a sort of cardboard cutout or something. I mean, it was just bizarre, incomprehensible. I never saw anything like it. It made no sense whatsoever. And I describe it in communion, and that's why I think, there's a huge gulf between us. Huge. they thought that would make sense to me. And that was not true. Was not true. So therefore, I think conversely, when we think they, there's some cat out there saying, oh, they're following Donald Trump's airplane so it won't get shot down. Give me a break.
Right.
I would be amazed if they could do more than pretend to know the difference between politician A and politician B. I think if you gave them a lineup and it was Mother Teresa, Hitler, Roosevelt, and Gandhi, they would not even be able to tell the difference between these individuals as people unless they had been able to get into contact with their souls. Then they would know them more completely than any human being in the history of this world has ever known anyone else or himself.
What was it like? I'm excited about the audiobook for communion. And what was it like every time I read communion, I get something else out of it. And for you, what was that like to go, this is going to be good stuff in your voice. It's going to be tremendous. But what was it like to read the book again?
Well, the first thing is it's well written. I was happy about that. And because I'm so obsessive, I've written the introduction 56 times so far, and it's only 13 pages. I wrote communion about 25 or 30 times, I think. And I had Annie to help me, which was wonderful because she was a really good editor. And and also the editor at William Morrow, Jim Landis, was a wonderful editor. So I had two editors on my side. Now I don't have any. But it's a good book, well written, and it lays it out very clearly. I don't think there's too much in it I'm very iffy about certain memories, especially in the secret school. But I'm not iffy too much about any things in communion. I think it's pretty accurate. Because especially some of them, the first memory of which October of 85, Jacques Sandelestou and Annie Gottlieb were there. And they witnessed this extremely strange experience. And Annie's still very much alive. Jacques, sadly enough, has left us for the great boxing ring in the sky. He was a big boxer. Or maybe it was wrestling, I forget. Anyway, Annie's still very much with us, and she vividly remembers what happened. And there's a documentary coming up on the Travel Channel, I believe, where she talks about it very frequent. So that, when you have witnesses, Annie remembered stuff, Annie Gottlieb remembered stuff, Jacques remembered stuff, and our little boy remembered stuff. So that happened. Then comes December. And if you read, and this was fascinating to me, I read Annie's hypnosis session with Dr. Robert Naiman for the first time since it was happened. And I thought, my God, this is a woman trying to hide something. She's trying not to say things that she remembers, and she's telling us that she thinks she shouldn't. You can feel the presence of something there that is telling Annie not to say what she remembers. It's fascinating and incredibly eerie. So she had some memories of the night of December the 25th, 85. But this I had completely forgotten. The son of one of our friends who lived up there saw a UFO that night, a big lighted UFO that night, and told me about it after I started talking to everybody and asking everyone in the neighborhood if they'd seen anything. And I had that It's in the book, but I had forgotten about it. But here's the interesting thing. A year later, his dad came to me and says, Whitley, I want to tell you something. I think I saw you that night. I think my wife and I saw you that night. And I thought, what is he going to say? Because I was buck naked and they took semen out of me. I was screaming like crazy. They didn't see any of that. They were coming back to our houses, and they saw what they looked like a blimp in a field near our houses, hanging over the snow at the far edge of the field. And so he thought, maybe I better stop because there could be something wrong. I mean, there shouldn't be a blimp out there. So he stops, he gets out of the car, goes over the fence, is walking toward it, and he hears screaming inside it. That's me. We assume, because it was at that morning, it was about 2:00 that morning. So he starts to run toward it, whereupon lights come on all over it, and it starts making a growling noise and moving toward him. And he said, very frankly, we got out of there, Whitley, and I really feel I should have helped you, tried to help you. I said to him, you make the right decision, because I think if you tried to help me, we would not be having this conversation now, because you'd be on planet Zyklon in a cage. So yeah, anyway, so he was a witness. So those are all witnesses. And some of my other neighbors saw lights. So that happened. And probably pretty much as I remember it, because I remember being hurt. I remember being, when I say, I'd forgotten this too. I say in the beginning of communion, I was raped. I say that word, raped. I did not know that. I'd forgotten, I'd blanked that out. Then later, in the hypnosis session, I describe it as a rectal probe. Now you think of all those bastards who have gone out there and made jokes about the rectal probe, knowing, I thought they didn't realize it was a rape, knowing that the word rape was used in the book. And you have to ask yourself, why would anyone go to that length to demean themselves, to laugh in public at another person's rape? Why? It took me more than 20 years for those injuries to stop causing me pain. 20 years. That injury was that severe. And it's not a joke. If these cats who make rectal probe jokes on TV and stuff all the time, that they're used to, had done that, and it was a woman and not a man,
right,
they would be out of this. They would be out the door immediately. So I thought to myself, that's what they call bullying in this world. They bullied the hell out of me. And I got, as I was reading communion, I got madder and madder and madder at the way I'd been treated. But, I'm a tough barnacle, and this happened, and I'm not shutting up, and I'm not going away, period.
The interest in souls, and when we come back after the break, I want to go much, much deeper in this.
Deep as you want. I'll take you as deep as you want to go.
And Whitley, you said something that grabbed me. You said that we have souls, we just don't know it.
That's right. We can't feel them because our bodies are so thick.
Can you expand on that?
Now, or are we going into break?
We've got all night. But here's the thing. I'm going to be thinking about this tonight in the dark. And, when my brain goes active, and we all do this, right? I'm going to think about it. It's just a profound set of words, young man. We have souls. We just don't know it.
Well, you can find out you have a soul.
How?
It takes time, a lot of time, and it has to do with the body You can if you become sensitive enough to your body, you will also eventually become aware of the existence of the way your soul feels. Thinking about it doesn't help. It's a waste of time. You can learn to sense your soul. You can feel it as a kind of vibration. You can feel it very clearly over time. And you can know by the way it feels what condition it's in. And, everybody is going to be thinking, I have a screwed up soul for sure. I've done this and I've done that. It's real hard to screw up your soul. It takes work. And, you steal a car, you beat somebody up, or you get drunk, or you two-time on your wife or husband. It doesn't matter. We walk away from that when we die. You have to work hard. You have to willfully destroy other lives needlessly. And then your soul starts to get heavier and heavier and heavier. Until finally, when you die, it falls out like a rock. And down it goes. Annie said to me afterwards, after she passed away, I said, what happens to the evil? She said, nothing. And I thought, nothing? They get off scot-free.
Right.
Then I realized what that means. There is an opportunity to ascend that is the most precious thing in this universe that a living being can possess. And if you deny that to yourself, nothing happens to you. You're gone.
Wow. Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. Whitley, great start. We're going to come back. We're going to discuss souls. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tomorrow night, right here, Scott Walter. Wednesday night, Dave Schrader is here. And then Thursday night, of course, is Fader Night with open lines all night long. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. More with Whitley Strieber. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hi, Race Hobbs with the X. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have an interest in unexplained phenomena like ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs. And by now, you know that we have our own X blog, the UnX newsletter, and the UnX magazine quarterly. But most of you don't know that we have started our very own paranormal conference. And this year, for safety, this 2-day XCon will be virtual, so you can attend from the comfort of your home. XCon presenters include Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, Margie Kay and Preston Dennett, Lisa Martin and Wayne Lawrence, Lee Spiegel, Debbie Zagelmeyer, Dan Terry, Kate Grabowski, and Ray Hernandez. There will also be a live paranormal investigation by the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team. So come hang out with us in the safety of home as we set out to explain the unexplained Friday, May 13th and Saturday the 14th, 2022. And tickets are on sale now. Go to unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Race Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright-Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tomorrow night, Scott Wolter, right here on this program. And then Wednesday night, Dave Schrader. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Tonight, it's Whitley, and I'm very excited about this because Whitley and I, over the years on Fade to Black, it's only been me. And tonight, we're joined by video. Finally, Whitley.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. And now talking about the soul, and this popped up a little bit ago. Let me go back and grab it, because this was my next question to you, and this popped up from Cindy. She says, does Whitley distinguish between consciousness and the soul? That is a great question. And I think that all of us ponder this. Whitley, is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. The soul is a concentration of consciousness that reflects a particular body, any body, from a protozoan to something beyond us. And it's in consciousness, but it is also separate and unto itself. The best way to think of this is that it's holographic, in the sense that the smallest bit of it potentially contains the whole, and at the same time is its own individual thing. But that's a good question. It's a very good question. I'm amazed. In fact, it's a fabulous question.
The Egyptians, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but
yeah, you say Egyptians, and you know I'm going to go off on a tangent if you're not careful. So I'm warned. Go ahead.
Is that, they got the scales, right? And you've got a feather there, and you place your soul on the scale, and you get weighed right there. It's not your consciousness that they put on the scale. It's your soul. And
I can describe to you what it's like when you're out of your body, because I am much too wild a hare to get out of my body on my own. I learned that a long time ago, because I got it. Someone said to me before I wrote Communion and after I was talking to people about what happened, that, well, maybe you had it, maybe it was an out of body thing that happened. I mean, it wasn't physical, because I wasn't telling them about what the problems I was having with my ass. I only told the doctor that. Man. So they didn't know about that. And I thought, I had never heard of out of body experiences before. So I researched it a little bit and got Bob Monroe's book, Journeys Out of the Body, read it. And there, in that edition of it anyway, there were instructions at the end as to how to have an OBE. And I was trying that one night, and all of a sudden it worked. I came out of my body. I should have known that I didn't do it myself, but I thought I had done it myself. And I was able to experience a complete and total separation from my body that lasted about 10, 15 minutes. I mean, I could have gone, I decided to go back into it. I could have stayed out longer and gone more places, but I went out in the front yard. I went through the window in the wall and into the front yard. And I was thinking to myself, I don't want Annie to wake up in the morning and find a corpse. I'm not sure what's going on here, but here's the thing. I was me. I had a lot of my memories. I knew who I was. I knew I had a name, Whitley. I don't know, of course, as Ann and I, we used to talk about that, and she would say, well, Whitley, you don't know. When you were out of your body, you couldn't know what memories you left in your brain and you didn't have them anymore because you would not be able to feel the forgetting. But I felt like myself. I felt I was whole, completely whole outside of my body. And I looked down at my body lying there in the bed, and I thought, wow, look at that thing. It's really beautiful. It's beautiful. And Annie lying beside it looked like she was glowing with pearlescent light. And I thought, my word, I mean, I can understand why someone would come after these bodies. They're beautiful. They're much more beautiful when you're in that state than not. So then I tried to get back into it. And I slid out of it. It was like it was mercury, or it was like a metal inside a very shiny kind of liquid metal. And I kept falling out of it. And I thought, holy God, you have done it now, Strieber. You screw around with all this crazy stuff. And now you can't get back into your damn body. And I'm trying to get back into it. All of a sudden, I'm in my front yard at the age of about 10, and my dad's mowing the lawn. And he looks at me, he says, when are you going to come help me? I was instantly back in my body. I don't know how I got there, but I was back. And because there's no damn way, I hated mowing that lawn more than anything. And, he'd always say, Saturday morning, you're going to mow the lawn, Whitty. And I just couldn't get out of bed. And then I'd hear the lawnmower start and realize he's out there doing it in order to make me feel bad.
Yep. We've all been through that. It's funny. My dad and I, after his second divorce, we're living alone, right? Father and son. And this big lawn, like half acre, right? And all I saw was football with my friends in the backyard. What I didn't realize, it was my job to cut that grass, right? and my dad paid me $10 a week. And in 1976, 77, that was big money. That was all.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's good money for those days.
It wasn't enough, Whitley. It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
wasn't enough. That was cutting the grass. So then he got a riding lawnmower, and I was all in, and that took care of things. But now let's get back to the soul for a second. So reincarnation, or that idea behind it, and I'm just going here just to ask the question. Your soul is the reincarnation. Your consciousness and your memories are not, right? Is that why?
Let's go back to Egypt, and I can very quickly lay out what
Sure.
this is, how this works. In the Pyramid of Unas, which is there is a text written on the walls. It is the oldest religious text in the world. It is one of the most sophisticated religious texts in the world also. And the hieroglyphics it's written in are absolutely awesome. Whoever wrote that knew so much about writing hieroglyphics. They had to be, at that point, a very ancient language and a very ancient system of writing. It's highly developed and incredibly beautiful. There's only one or two places where you'll ever read anything sensible about the Pyramid of Unas, because it freaked out a lot of these Egyptology people who want to believe we're like the top dogs, and this is the leading edge of civilization. We know more. And they don't like to look back and see things that are so extraordinary that come from the human mind when it was different from this and maybe a lot older than we are now. Anyway, there's one book called The Dawning. Let's see. It's by Susan Brind Morrow, and I think it's called The Dawning Moon of the Mind. And it is a very good book about the Pyramid of Unas. Anyway, let's get to exactly where the soul comes in here. In the pyramid, there is as you go in on the west, I believe, wall of the entryway, there is a description of the way the soul and the body work together. It describes the spine as the link between the soul and the body, and it describes seven. It says that the spine is a serpent of light, and that there are seven smaller serpents circling the spine and drawing the experience of life into the spine, where it turns into light and is sent to the soul. And this is how the body-soul relationship works. And I found an amazing, from Mesoamerica, an amazing little sculpture. It's only about this big. It's apparently about 9,000 years old. There was some wax in it, and the particles of wax were carbon dated at 9,000 years. So you don't know. I mean, people make forgeries and stuff, what's going on there, but that doesn't really matter, because it perfectly expresses the relationship between the body and the soul. There's this big-eyed, familiar big-eyed figure cradling in its arms a human being. And there is a little sort of opening, a little round thing between the two of them. And in that, there is a triangular face, gray, of a gray, that is to say, of another version of us. And only when that triangular stone is in the object will it stand up. Otherwise, it falls over. That's the balancing part. And that is the balance between the body and the soul. And when you're in harmony, in balance, then your soul is unified with your body. It's in your one single individual. We're mostly separated. We're not unified. And it takes, I mean, there's lots of ways. Buddhism has ways. Christianity has ways. I'm in the Gurdjieff Foundation. The Gurdjieff Foundation has its own way. There's lots and lots. Islam has a whole bunch of different, very powerful ways to find balance between body and soul. All the religions do, and there are some, like the Gurdjieff thing is not a religion. It's you can do it in the Gurdjieff work and be an atheist. It doesn't matter. Or at least I think there would be maybe an argument about that, but I think you can. So there's lots of paths to this. How is the path?
How did you find a way to understand Gurdjieff? Because
that's a good question.
Whitley, I tried. I everybody's talking, and you go, and I got about, I'm going to say 100 pages in, and that was a lot of work to get that far. And
which book were you reading? I'm curious. The All and Everything book.
Yes.
Oh, that was the wrong one to start with, for sure.
I got to tell you, I was like, is it me, or do I not understand one word of anything that is written here? And I couldn't. How did you figure that out? How are you?
First of all, you shouldn't read that book until you've been actively involved in the work for at least 10 years. And you have to be in a work group. It's very group oriented. And my work group, I've been in it off and on for 50 years now. And, we get together all the time on Zoom now, fortunately. And so, we were able to continue, but, it's a hard journey. Gurdjieff work it's not easy, and it's not like it gives you no immediate reward whatsoever. You do it for 10 or 15 years, and you begin to know something about yourself. You begin to understand that a lot of this thinking that we do and the head stuff is not useful. Gurdjieff's, his third book in his series of books is called Life is Real Only Then When I Am. And that I am is the core. If you are there, then you know where you are. And that was what the whole thing in the Pyramid of Unas was about, because it was teaching the Pharaoh how to be there, so that when he died and his soul left his body, it would ascend. And they had the 42 negative admonitions of Ma'at, 42 laws, of which the 10 commandments are a distillation.
Mm-hmm.
Very good distillation, because you go on and on with the 42 laws of Ma'at, and oh God, don't do this, don't do that. And you think to yourself finally, oh dear, I walked too fast, therefore I'm going to descend. But ascension is not hard. That's the thing, people, that we don't want to look at the soul, our souls, because we think we've screwed up. And you got to remember, it's hard to screw up here. As I said earlier, it's very hard. And you can do it. I mean, you can do awful things, and you will feel those regrets. And if you die with those regrets, they're like little pieces of lead dropped into your soul. And you got to let all that go. When Annie had her near-death experience in 2004, she came back with one of the best stories about that experience that I've ever heard. Annie was a teacher, and still is a teacher to her core, essentially a teacher. And she comes back and she says, she didn't go through the tunnel of light. She didn't see heaven. She didn't meet Jesus. She ended up in a place that a lot of people are going to end up in, and probably all of us. She said it looked like a big bus station. And everyone was clinging. They all had suitcases and burdens. And they had to put the burdens down or they were going to just stay there. And eventually they would come back here. And she used to say to everybody, put those burdens down. And you'd ask her, how do you do that? And she'd say, well, the human species is too young to have beliefs. What we need are good questions. And if you can really let go of your beliefs, you are on your way. And it becomes incredibly fun to turn all of your beliefs into questions and to stop being, you get to the point where you think, I only have one opinion left. My opinion is I don't want to have any opinions.
Right.
And I have only one belief. I believe in the question.
Right.
And
right.
then you're free and your soul starts to grow.
Yeah. Can you do that naturally without having somebody tell you?
Sure. You just do it.
Right.
Just do it. It's not hard. And you don't need, the thing is, each one of us has all the tools we need right inside here, right inside ourselves. And, you don't have to become a Buddhist. You don't have to buy all kinds of tapes or yoga, twist yourself into a pretzel. You don't have to sit in the Gurdjieff work for years. I did because I love it. It's my work. It's my life. But you don't have to. You just have to live this way. And the whole story of how to live is contained in the Sphinx at Giza. The whole story is there. And this is the story. The Sphinx has the strength of a bull, the courage of a lion, the intelligence of a man. And you don't see it on that Sphinx, but it also has wings that can spread, that it will enable it to fly. How does that all work? The courage of the bull is the body, healthy body. I mean, the strength of the bull is the body, healthy body. The courage of the Sphinx is the emotions, strong, powerful, good emotions, not negative emotions, powerful, positive emotions. You have the courage to see yourself as you really are. And the intelligence of the man manages all this. The intelligence of the person. It's not just men, it's people, all of us. Puts the right food in the body to make the body healthy. The intelligence sifts through and fulfills the great admonition that was on the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. Know thyself. And when the intelligence of the man brings the courage of the heart and the strength of the bull into balance, the wings spread and you rise above life. You become an objective viewer of life. That's power, man. Real power. Believe me.
Right.
Believe me.
When I was a kid, Whitley, yearbook, sophomore year, high school, and the only autograph in the yearbook that wasn't from a student was from my next door neighbor. His name was Steve. And I'm 14, I'm 15. And you know what he writes? He writes one sentence. He says, Jimmy, the world is not what it seems.
That's for sure.
Right. And now, no words have affected me more than that. And I remember I said, I wanted something dynamic, right? He writes that, and I said, what does this mean? You'll find out, right? Now,
and here you are.
Right. Yeah. It goes back to exactly what you're saying. If you can get rid of all of your beliefs and just turn that into just one question, just one thing, that's exactly what that autograph said, right? Yeah. The world is not what it seems.
And you gotta have a sense of humor about yourself and everyone around you, because we don't want to be funny. We want to be serious and take ourselves seriously, but we're actually terribly funny, unless we're killing each other and then run like hell. But
right. And back to the soul really quick, and we'll continue when we come back. Very interesting conversation. The interest in the soul from the others or the visitors seems to be there. And you and I and Linda and Richard had a long conversation about this.
Yeah.
And you really Linda and Richard and William Henry immediately snapped into attention on this point.
Yeah, William Henry is very knowledgeable about Egypt. I mean, seriously.
And what is it about the soul with ET? Is it because they're in search of one, or they're interested?
No,
they don't possess the soul?
No, not at all. There are a lot of people with all kinds of beliefs about them, but you really spend a little time, actual time with them, and you have the most fascinating experience, especially with the little gray people, because they are very definitely individuals, but they are also a community at the same time. They're both. And it's absolutely fascinating because you're dealing with an individual who is constantly in contact with a whole community. And you'd think, well, they wouldn't have any individuality, but they've got loads of individuality. Oh, when they're scared, they turn and they get robotic. But if they're not scared, they're really, they're quite extraordinary. I think they're pretty dangerous too, I have to tell you, and I'll tell you why if you want to know.
Well, let's take our break, and we'll find out when we come back. Whitley, stay right there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tonight, finally, it's the interview. Whitley and I on screen together. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and this year, June 18th, 2022, the Disclosure Fest Foundation presents the Mass Meditation Initiative. It's Saturday, June 18th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., one day only at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles, California, right next to Chinatown. I'm hosting the event again this year with music performances by Trevor Hall, The Desert Dwellers, Poranki, and many, many more on 4 separate stages. There's 16 stages in total, over 30 acres in downtown Los Angeles, with vendors and tents and presentations and workshops with Billy Carson, Adam Apollo, Lori Spagna, Laura Eisenhower, Brad Olson, David Palmer, and many, many more. It's all simple to do. Just go to disclosurefest.org for all of your tickets, information, and a full schedule of the day's events. Again, disclosurefest.org. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Badernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tomorrow night, Scott Wolter will be here. And Wednesday night, Dave Schrader. Thursday, of course, is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Tonight, with Whitley, a very interesting conversation, Whitley. And going back to, I remember, this goes back many, many years. And I was listening to one of your broadcasts on Unknown Country, and the conversation came up about the Blue Guys, and how your this is going back 10 years or probably more, and the conversation was about the soul and what you were starting to understand about the blue beings and what they could represent. And it's caused me so many years of thinking about this subject. And so let's go back and pick up where we left off about E.T. and the soul. And the blue beings may not necessarily be the others. They may be us, right? Am I understanding?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think that, it's really, this is so weird. And it's just that I had, Annie and I had a friend, Laurie Barnes, who was Anne's secretary for years, 15 years, I think. And they were the ones who assembled all the communion letters that are now at Rice University. And she had an experience in 1954 that I thought might be something, there might be a real secret there. And that was this. She's lying in bed, she's pregnant, and her husband's out on a gig. They They were entertainers. And she, what's going on, Jimmy?
There you go.
Oh, yeah. You're discovering all the bells and whistles of StreamYard. Cool. All right. Here I am, big and scary. I'm even more dangerous now than I was then. Okay. Anyway, so she's in bed and she hears a noise and she looks up and she sees the most frightening possible thing. This line beside the bed of these short, dark blue, horrible looking trolls just scared the bejesus out of her, because here she is, a pregnant woman alone in a house at 11 o'clock at night in Queens in 1954, when you do not expect to see anything like that. You do not know the word alien means somebody from China. It does not mean somebody from another planet. That's fiction. That has to do with Buck Rogers and stuff like that. So she recoils, whereupon it says to her, makes this reassuring statement: we're not here for you. We're here. We are interested in the girl child you are carrying, which calms her down and says, oh, my unborn baby, and your monsters are interested. I'm fine. Not exactly. She was even more upset, of course. Whereupon he puts his hand on her wrist and says, why do you fear us? And she says, because you're so ugly. And he says, one day, my dear, this is the critical thing. One day, my dear, you will look just like us. So we consider the butterfly beautiful. But does the caterpillar consider the butterfly beautiful? Does the caterpillar, or could the caterpillar in its wildest imagination ever imagine, ever believe that he would become a butterfly?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the human species is like a lot of other species. It has more than one form. And the forms are not going to necessarily understand each other well at all. But I will tell you about those blue guys. They've got something to do with birth and the journey of life and death and souls. They surely do.
You mentioned before the break that the little grays also, they have souls, but they also may be dangerous. What did you mean?
I didn't say the grays. I didn't say, if I implied it was the grays, I'm not sure who it is.
Okay.
Could even be human beings. But I'll tell you a story. This story is in A New World, the book that I published a couple of years ago, my sort of latest book about the visitors. And this came to me from a nurse who knew a woman who worked in a coroner's office in Brooklyn, or I guess the coroner's office in Brooklyn. This was back in the early 90s, I guess this happened. And they began to get in these people who were mutilated, and she didn't know about cattle mutilations when she started talking to me about this. But as soon as she described these mutilations, I realized that she was talking about the same things happening to people that happen to cattle. And took me a long time to understand what this was about. And it had to do, I understood it when I was taken out of my body more often, and I could experience exactly what was going on that would enable me to come out of my body. I'll tell you what that is. There's a place back here somewhere that I would assume that we can never find, they can find. And if you send a little electric shock into that place, which has been done to me, the person feels these like locks opening up and down the spine. The chakras open is what happens, and or what the ancient Egyptians called the seven taniter. And then later they became the seven chakras. And when they open, the soul is free. It'll come right out of the body. Now, what happened was to these people in Brooklyn, they were all street people, and they would be found on roofs and stuff near the areas where they hung out, and they would be mutilated. And the coroner discovered that what had been done to them is they were mutilated. Then they were drowned in the ocean. They're taken down like 70 feet, down far enough to where there was pressure damage to the lungs. And then there was an incision made, or maybe that happened before, during the mutilation back here. And the spine was very badly damaged. And when I first saw this, heard this described, I didn't understand the part about the spine at all, but now I do, because I've been taken out of my body enough to know that if you know what to do, you can release the soul from the body right here, back there. I don't think any of us can do it. I don't think we don't have access to that particularly fine point. But whoever did that to these people, I think did. Was that some aliens or some non-humans, or was it human beings with some kind of unholy knowledge? Because once you've got that soul out of there, you get now to the edge of my knowledge, but all I can think of is if someone wanted to take souls, and they chose these people who no one would really care about for very long.
Mm-hmm.
Police wouldn't investigate very hard, but they did it so many times that there was quite an investigation, apparently. And what do you do with it? I've got a lot of ideas about what you might do with a soul, because it contains the whole contents of a life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once the visitors, one of them took me back to the point where I first walked, Jimmy. And it wasn't just a memory. I lived it again with the intelligence and consciousness of an adult in the body of little Whitty, who was probably 2 years old, or whenever I started to walk. I don't know, 10 months or something. I don't know. I don't remember when I started to walk. No idea. Probably in my baby book somewhere. But anyway, I lived it again, lived it in every detail as if it was happening now. That's all there. That's in the soul. Every instant of life in all of its glorious detail. The scent of the flowers, the terror of the fire, all of it. And if they're not as alive as we are, and they can get that and take it and use it, what do we amount to? Are we a kind of entertainment?
Right.
And that is why I say some of them, anyone who would do that to anybody is not on the side of the Lord. That is for sure.
The person, for me, for example, if my soul was taken from me, what do others see? How do I present myself? How do I act? How do I look?
Well, I can tell you how Annie responded when she was no longer in her body, one of the first things she said to me once we got back in touch was, "It looks like you're all intentionally ignoring us." And they hang out in this world for a while. Some of them maybe for a long time. Being intentionally ignored, it must drive them nuts. And she, I don't know if have I told you this story? Probably have on this show, but I'll just very briefly. After Annie passed away, we had made a pact that the first of us to die would not try to come back directly to the other one, but would rather come back to friends. If this was even possible, we didn't know. Would come back to friends and get the friends to tell the other person. And she passed on at 7:15 on the night of August the 11th, 2015. At 9:30, a friend called, and I saw the phone. I thought, holy God, that's the last thing I need is a call. Because, of course, I was sitting there in the living room, just broken up, totally broken up, and saying, Annie, if you still exist in any way, please, for God's sakes, give me some kind of a sign. The phone rings. And it's Belle Fuller, friend of mine, too. And she says, Whitley, I just heard Ann's voice tell me to call you. Is she all right? And I think, oh, God, help us. And I said, Annie's passed on at 7:15. Belle, thank you very much. And hung up. And it kept happening. Trish and Rob McGregor, who have that, they have Mystical Underground. It happened to them, only it was really dramatic, a huge explosion in their house that had no apparent source. And William Henry's wife, Claire, had the same thing, a call, a voice. When I was sitting in the hills above Palm Springs, a few days later, I was sitting there again thinking, Annie, if you're still here in any way, please let me know. And my cell phone rings, and it's Claire Henry saying, Whitley, I just heard Ann's voice, and she said to call you, to tell you that she was okay. And then I remembered the pact we had. And I thought, my God, Ann is here. And then it started. We started working together, and we started writing a book together called Afterlife Revolution. And we've been working together ever since. We work together now. I'm used to it now. I'll never be a good channel, but I am good at picking up ideas, Annie's ideas, because they're always way better than mine. So I can pick them up. I'll give you, let me see here. I take notes with these ideas. I'll find some of them and read them out.
Do you remember everything, or do you have to take notes when you're communicating?
I have to take notes quickly.
Right.
If I don't take them quickly, I will forget it.
Right.
And I've lost stuff that way. Oh, here's the typical one. Everybody belongs to everybody. In the physical world, it's hard to see that this is so. And that's an idea that nobody has. I never heard that before from anyone.
Wow.
And another one. I asked her what the universe was, and she said, well, you need to find out about the stars before you understand the universe. And then she says, the stars aren't just balls of light. What the stars are is desire. Jaw drops.
Right.
What does that mean?
And that's heavy, actually.
Yeah. I mean, you think about that. And you think of that the sheer intensity of the will of God for creation. And you think, my God, it's true. The stars are the creation. They are the desire of God expressed into the physical world. So, having someone like Annie in your life is really cool. Okay.
The reality of that, because, and I say reality because you are now introduced to this. You've been on this journey for so long, and then these questions start to get answered, right? And how did you feel about that at first?
Well, I'll tell you, the questions get. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I talked over you. Go ahead.
Did you believe that this was possible? Because you've heard others talk about it for a long time, but when you experience it yourself, how did you accept it?
Well, what happens is that your questions get replaced by better questions. And so there's really nothing to accept in that sense. You just like, what is Annie now? She said early on, I'm not Anne anymore, but I'll always be Anne for you. What does that mean? Well, I understand it, that I'm talking to the soul now. The body that was Anne is gone, dead. But the essence of the life that Anne lived is now part of this huge soul that has had many lives and will have many more probably. But when it manifests to me, it does so as Anne, because I probably couldn't understand it otherwise.
Are you referring to Anne, the physical self was the soul container for
No,
that?
no, the physical self is a projection into the stream of time. It's not the container. The soul is a silent witness to life.
And what is the soul container then?
Well, the universe.
Do you remember? I want to go back to our conversation that we were having with Linda and Richard and William about this, and the subject came up about the soul container, and we all of us, in my own little juvenile brain, I tried to contribute to the conversation.
We remember how incredibly silly you were. Don't worry. Actually, Jimmy, you're a very wise man, and you're very good at hiding what you really are. But that said, let's just go on down the road.
So everybody had a different take on a soul container, and I had this vision that came from the conversation that there may be a giant ship out there with rows and rows of containers with souls in them, and I just couldn't get that out of my mind. Is that a possibility?
I don't know. I have no idea. I do know that the soul is like a fisherman on the bank of the water of the river of time, and it's got this body it throws into the water of time, and that's us. And events, experiences are flowing past us all the time, and we're gathering energy from those experiences. And then when we die, pulls us out again and draws us into itself and makes another one and goes on down the road like that until finally that soul feels like, I've had enough of this. I'm finished with time, and I'm leaving time now. And that soul returns from whence it came. it becomes part of the immense sacred presence that is this universe. Because I'll tell you, there's one thing that is a container. It's consciousness itself, and it contains everything.
Brian Greene, and we can continue this after the break, Whitley. Brian Greene, in his latest book, Until the End of Time, he talks about the end of the physical universe, right? And we're talking about trillions upon trillions upon trillions of years in the future. But
well, not that long, but in the future, a few billion years, yeah.
Well, this is his book. So
I see. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I've not read the book.
Right, but he says something very interesting. He says that after the last protons break apart, right, and everything is done, that what will continue is thought. That thought is an energy, and it will continue. Thinking and thought will exist forever, and it will float around the universe looking for little bits of energy because thought still needs food. And I just thought about that for a second. I thought about that. You like the way I use that word again? He didn't say consciousness. He didn't say soul. He's a physicist. He's a scientist. So he defines it as thought. But is he saying the same thing, that consciousness and the soul exist in the universe and will last forever?
Well, energy will never die. Energy is not going to end, not even with the end of the physical world. And since the soul is consciousness is energy, there's such a thing as it is conscious energy. It will be there, and it will begin to look into itself, and look at itself more and more carefully. And the more it looks at itself, the more concentrated it will become, until it is in a state of absolute, almost perfect awareness. And it will be then less than the size of a head of a pin, but that will contain everything. And then there will be that same desire inside it, and the whole thing will explode out again. That is the great heart beating over billions and billions of years, forever.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. I love this conversation. That's why, Whitley, I've called this The Interview. We will be right back after this short break. Our guest tonight, Whitley Strieber. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I will be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Life Change Tea has a great offer for you right now. The 3-pack special. Save $15 on their popular flavor pack of Super Tea. Get all 3 flavors, original, peppermint, and pomegranate. Life Change Tea tastes great. It's an all-natural, gentle cleanse with a unique blend of 12 herbs that helps keep your digestive tract clean, clear, and healthy. And it's so easy to make. Just brew, steep, refrigerate, and drink. Serve hot or cold. And 1 to 2 servings a day is all you need. You take care of the outside. Do the same for your inside. Life Change Tea is made right here in the United States and helps thousands feel their best. It's an important part of any daily routine. So go to getthetea.com/F2B. That's getthetea.com/F2B. That's getthetea.com/F2B.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge, and we're heading to Egypt this October. Come join Jimmy Church, myself, and the Forbidden Knowledge team as we spend a week exploring Giza, the Great Sphinx, the Great Pyramid, Saqqara, Dashura, Aswan, Edfu, Dendara, Karnak, and we'll celebrate Jimmy's birthday in Luxor. The Forbidden Tour of Egypt is this October 5th through the 12th and includes a 4-day Nile cruise, expert Egyptologists, and a chance to explore Egypt with Jimmy and I as your host through your journey of a lifetime. Space is limited, so make your reservations now. Please visit forbiddenknowledge.com for information and complete itinerary. That's forbiddenknowledge.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and this year, June 18th, 2022, the Disclosure Fest Foundation presents the Mass Meditation Initiative. It's Saturday, June 18th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., one day only at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles, California, right next to Chinatown. I'm hosting the event again this year with music performances by Trevor Hall, The Desert Dwellers, Poran Ki, and many, many more on 4 separate stages. There's 16 stages in total, over 30 acres in downtown Los Angeles, with vendors and tents and presentations and workshops with Billy Carson, Adam Apollo, Lori Spagna, Laura Eisenhower, Brad Olson, David Palmer, and many, many more. It's all simple to do. Just go to disclosurefest.org for all of your tickets, information, and a full schedule of the day's events. Again, disclosurefest.org.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. You've got a view of Whitley in the green room. Caught me by surprise. And this is Fade to Black tonight. Whitley Strieber is with us. And Whitley, 2 souls walk into a bar.
Oh, no.
Now, can there be a communication? Now, let's go back to the universe, right? Let's and we've got consciousness and energy running around. What happens? They must bump into each other, and maybe there's a community, maybe there's a city. Is there communication that happens between these energy clouds, if you will?
I have never seen another soul when I was out of my body. So I can't answer the question.
The reason there's thinking going on, right? There is, and you're swimming around the universe and doing your thing, and observing. There must be communication going on, and does that happen right back on Earth? You said earlier that you wouldn't be a good channel, but is that what's happening? Whether it's a form of entanglement, reaching out to energy into the connected universe, but there must be communication going on.
I think it's all communication. I think it's all entangled, and I think that I suspect that the universe is an incredibly sensitive web, and that anything that happens anywhere in it shakes the whole web. And so the web is dancing quite a dance, of course, because there's a lot happening in the universe. And but I don't know about that level of communication. I only know what I have experienced. And when I'm out of my body, been out of my body, I've seen other people 3 times, physical people. And 2 of them, no, I guess all 3 of them saw me. But I've never seen like another soul that I was aware of as a soul. I have certainly engaged with them and meditated with them quite extensively, especially at the cabin when there was a group of 7 of them who used to come every night to meditate with me for about a year. The last I saw of them was the last night we had the cabin before we lost it. And I never saw this, but the kids would sometimes see these 7 softly glowing balls of light out in the woods, moving around in the woods when they went camping at night. And I'll tell you another story about that. The first time I ever saw those things, which are souls, in my opinion. I think that's how souls look to us when we are able to rise up into a level where you can see things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was at my grandmother's funeral. My grandmother's mother had lived to the age of 106. My grandmother was absolutely convinced that she would do the same, but she died in her mid-80s. And we were in the church. The coffin was there. It was closed. It was a Catholic funeral. And in the aisle, and we were, the funeral mass is going on, and all of a sudden these 6 big balls of light came in from both sides and sort of rolled in and were lined up on both sides of the coffin. And I almost shouted out. I mean, because I didn't realize, I was in my early 30s. I did not have any idea that other people couldn't see this. And then a couple of seconds later, I realized nobody else is looking at them. Nobody else knows they're there. I'm alone in this. And so I kept my mouth shut. But I picked up from them that she refused to leave her body because she refused to believe she was dead. And they were her squad or her posse of souls. They were all linked together, and they were trying to get her to come out. And she wouldn't come out. And then a few days later, I saw her again explaining to people about all the beautiful houses she had made and how beautiful her house was. And it was beautiful. And but she was still involved in this world. She wouldn't go out. And I think she was refusing. She was like hosting a party. She still didn't know she was dead. And I saw her a couple more times until finally, about 5 or 6 years later, I saw her, and she was standing facing the front of a beautiful house, and that was all she had left of this world, only memories she carried. And I said to her, "Granny, it's Whitty." And she turned around and she looked at me, this very intense expression on her face. And I said, "Granny, it's time to go." And all of a sudden, the irises of her eyes turned gold and she's gone. So sometimes people wander here for a long time. And, I think a lot of them are talking, and maybe they've even got living in a kind of fantasy world where they're still interacting with people. And then gradually they notice that, hey, I'm actually, no one gives a damn about me anymore. They're just ignoring me. And Annie that's why Annie said at the very beginning, it looks like you're all intentionally ignoring us. It must drive them nuts.
There's been a strange thing, and I know that we've talked about this before, but if we look at, over the decades, what has been seen in the skies, we've seen these different phases, right, of what's been there. I can only talk about my own personal experiences and what I have seen, but one thing that I can't wrap my head around is when I see something that isn't quite physical. It's light. It's a light in the sky, and it can be different colors. But Whitley is showing up for me, right? It's a bizarre feeling, and then it appears and then and goes away. And I'm not sure if it's physical or not. It's physical because my eyes are seeing it and others that are around me. And I'm sure that you've experienced the same thing. Is this this a soul? Is this a something connected by consciousness?
Good question. It's a good question. A few nights ago, I was at the house of some friends. I was in Texas and spending the night there. And this entity I've encountered before showed up in my bedroom. And these people have known me for years. We've known each other since we were little kids. And they've had everything. All the Whitley stuff has happened to them. Their stereos have been blown out. Their TVs blown out. And all the usual. And we'd been having a lot of computer craziness. And I thought, oh no, this is going to get bad. But I saw this thing, and it's like a ghost. I mean, it's literally a very intense white kind of field. And if it touches you, it's electric. And I thought hopefully it won't. I was their bedroom, their guest room was in the basement. I thought, I hope it doesn't go upstairs because they both know about it and it'll piss them off. It'll scare their cat. But it didn't go upstairs. But what was it? What is that? It came years ago to our house, our apartment in New York, and it would poke Anne. It poked Anne in the shoulder and just scared the bejesus out of her, of course. She woke up and saw it there beside the bed, this kind of haze of whiteness that was poking her. And then, of course, she got mad at me because she figured it was my fault. This was before the communion experience. I said, Annie, why would it be my fault? Maybe it was you. Maybe it went after you because of you. Maybe it's here because of you. And she said, well, I don't attract things like that. You do. And then a couple nights later, it's upset us both. because our little boy starts screaming, and their white thing is in here poking me. And then about a week later, we go to a wedding reception, and suddenly I get a call. It's the babysitter. She's having hysterics. There's something, she says there is something, a white thing in the house. And I said, stay calm. We're coming back. And we got back to the house as soon as we could, the apartment. And she's there. Her mother's there. She's totally wiped. She's totally having hysterics. And her mother's saying, it was just a little boy in a sheet. It was just a little boy wearing a sheet. And our son's in his room. And I said, did you see it? And he said, yeah, it was on the fire escape. I said, was it someone wearing a sheet? He said, no, it was a white thing, but it didn't come in because she started screaming and it went away. So what are these things, man? You tell me.
I don't know. Whitley, this is about 2 months ago. I'm in my room, TV's off. I've got my iPad folded next to me, and I'm doing some reading. It's about midnight. And I've got my lamp on the nightstand, and that's it. The house is quiet. I'm reading. I'm not listening to something. I'm reading. And I'm on my side, right?
Yeah.
And I get in the middle of my back a push.
Okay.
Right? Just like that, right? And I'm serious. I don't know what my face looked like, but it was probably this.
Yeah, right. Right. I know that face.
But I didn't look. I did not turn around. I did not want to see. All I know is it was real. And I didn't say, go away, leave me alone. None of that.
I never say that.
I just, you know what? I took one for the team, man. And I didn't want to look. I did not want to confront whatever that was. You know what? And even, okay, let's say there, I turn around and there's a white light, right? Or there's a thing, there's an energy shape. I would be more okay with that than turning around and seeing nothing. Okay. And I did not want to know. I did not want to know. It didn't happen again, by the way. But it was a very strange sensation. And it was exactly this, like a push. Like I felt the shape of a hand. And I left it right there.
Well, I wonder if it had been a pull, it would have been different.
Right? Now, same scenario. Do you turn around and look, or do you just let it go?
It would depend. I'll tell you that something similar happened to me recently. I was lying in bed, and I had not gone to. I meditated at 11 and at 3 in the morning, and I had just done the 11 o'clock meditation. I lay down in bed, and suddenly arms came around my middle. I heard from behind me. I heard this, and I thought, "Oh, I'm too tired. You got." I just stayed there and waited, and went away after a while. I went to sleep. There would have been a time in my life when I would have gone completely ape over something like that. I leapt out of bed and gone crazy. But I've just had so much of it, and most of us, we're getting used to living in between the worlds, because that's where this whole human enterprise is headed. We're all going to be doing it, and those of us, you, me, most of your listeners, most of my listeners, people on our websites on Unknown Country and so forth. We're like the cutting edge. We're the future, and the future is gonna be living with these other levels of reality as part of our lives, and we're gonna get used to it. And it's going to turn out that we're going to learn how to make use of it and make it a good thing for mankind. I hope.
And what do you? I've never asked you this. What do you think about DMT and ayahuasca? And
I have to stay far away. I have. Listen. I have had one experience of marijuana in my life. I walked into a room back in the 70s where there were people smoking a lot of grass. There was a very heavy amount of smoke in the air. And I talked to a guy in there for about 5 minutes. And I came out of that room high as a kite. And I stayed high for a week. I would see myself passing in the street, going to work, and I was crazy at work. I was driving everybody nuts, talking about things that didn't exist and all this stuff. I mean, things I was seeing in the office that didn't actually exist. And then we went to another party the next week, and I effusively complimented the hostess about the goldfish in her lampstands. And Ann says, "We're going home, Whitley. You're still high. There are no goldfish in her lampstands." After an experience like that, that is your one exposure to grass, just to grass, and secondhand smoke at that. I stay well away from those things. Well away.
There is a suggestion, and it's like this is a repeated experiment, but DMT, which is produced naturally in our body, right?
The doctors think I've got a lot of it on my own. He said, "You don't need to waste your money on it."
and that DMT takes us to another dimension, another parallel world that exists, and this is repeated over and over. I've read thousands of testimonials from people that have gone through this, and of course, I've spoken to many people that have. A lot of our mutual friends that we have between us, Whitley, have done it. I have not. But that is this part of what physicists and scientists are trying to tell us about parallel worlds and a multiverse, and that DMT may be the vehicle, right, that we can drive to go and see this parallel world that you're referring to.
Well, I've been in it. I drove a Jeep through it with another man's child in the car. And I've been in it physically 2 more times since then and seen it extensively. I learned how to, when I was at the Lakota Sioux Reservation in South Dakota in the summer of 2018, or I guess it was 2019, I could see into the parallel universe every time I closed my eyes. It was like that for 3 days. And it's not a parallel, it's a mirror universe. And when I wrote A New World, I did a lot of research, and it turns out the physics on this mirror universe is actually more solid than the physics of the multiverse, where there are many, many universes. And this parallel, this mirror universe probably exists. I mean, really does, right here where we are. And I learned how to concentrate in such a way that I can see into it. And it's a wonderful experience, frankly. And
what's the difference between mirror and parallel?
Well, this place, it looks like our world. Only, well, it give you an example. In our world, the streams and stuff on the Lakota reservation were narrow and small. But when I closed my eyes, they were wide and much bigger. And the reason and the sky was cloudy. And I think that the Ice Age has not ended in that universe. I don't think whatever happened here in 9000 BC that brought the Ice Age crashing to an end has happened there. And their world is much more undeveloped than our world. And I think there are fewer people in it. It's much more undeveloped. It's much much more undeveloped. So,
is it in the same linear alignment time-wise as us?
I can't know that. I think it might be a little bit technologically ahead of us, because when I was, oh God, what a wonderfully crazy life I lead. I ended up I was just getting ready to get up and go swimming. I swim early in the morning a lot. And, then all of a sudden I was not in my apartment sitting there in my pajamas on the bedside. I was riding a bicycle down the street, and at the end of our street, it's a T, and it ends in, the street ends and there's a T. And I was riding toward the T and thinking, what the hell? I don't even own a bicycle. What is going on? And I wasn't in my pajamas. I was in shorts and a T-shirt. And it was so incredibly sudden and so vivid. I mean, it was like, you're sitting on a bedside and then bang, you're in a completely different situation. And like it's in another body. I think what happened is the soul of the version of me in that universe and the soul of the version of me in this one exchanged bodies. But I was riding along and I could see at the T, the street lights were totally different. At our T, there's, the usual red, yellow, green lights. And you stop and you wait, and whether there are any cars there or not, you wait if it's a red light, just like we do everywhere. But in this other world, there was two lights, and they had arrows that pointed in both directions. And if the arrow in the direction you wanted to go in was green, you could just go in it because you would know there's no car coming. It's a completely different system, you see?
Mm-hmm.
And better than what we have, because it would have been working with using radar to detect whether or not there were cars coming. It was just, and that was just one of the things. I saw a lot of things like that. And then it was over. And I had to come home. And I thought, crap, I never get enough. Just enough to let me know that this world is a hell of a lot bigger than we think, but not enough to where I could come back with pictures or something,
Yeah. And it's what I find so fascinating is when I hear science, and it's a pure numbers game too, Whitley, pure numbers game, in that the universe is so vast and so big, it's so big we don't understand the size of it. The numbers are just extraordinary. But the suggestion from science and physicists today that there are infinite versions of us going to the left and to the right, infinite versions of everything.
Yeah. We're going to find out that theory is not correct shortly.
Why?
I don't understand the physics well enough, but I do know some very advanced physicists who are telling me that theory is not working, that there's a particle that's being in the process of being discovered that's going to mean that theory can't be true. And I'm not, don't ask me more questions. That's just what I've been told by experts. Any knew physics well, and she could tell you exactly, but she's not here to do that. And as I said, I'm not a good enough channel. And now she says to me, "You couldn't understand me anyway." So,
well, that's just women in general. I mean, Whitley.
oh no, she was very smart.
Well, and here's the thing: when I say that it's just a numbers game, that particles are not limitless. The types of particles out there are finite, and they can only combine so many different ways. And so, in the vastness of the universe, there has to be. It is just a numbers game. There has to be at least one other version of you, Whitley. There is out there right now, and it's just a numbers game. There's some doofus radio host out there talking to you, and we're having the same conversation, except for I'm wearing a plaid shirt, and you're wearing a black shirt with a gray alien on it. But
the difference is this: they're not a couple of comedians. We are.
Oh man, well said.
But the immensity of the physical universe is so great that you could be telling an absolutely true thing. It could be that there's more than one planet that literally is exactly like this, simply on the odds. Isn't that fascinating?
It is. It just has to be that way. It has to be that way. And if you, the best way to look at it is this. Yeah, you and I are sitting playing cards, and I'm shuffling the deck, and we're playing a little 5-card hold'em. All right, the two of us, and you're kicking my butt, and I shuffle 5 cards to you, 5 cards to me. We look at our hands. Eventually, if we play long enough, I'm going to shuffle the cards into the exact same sequence, and we're going to have the exact same cards dealt to us. It could be the next hand. It could be 50 million hands from now, but it will happen. And it's the same thing with the rest of the universe.
Right.
And I want to ask you this before we say goodnight. The numbers now today, Whitley, just in our Milky Way, not in the universe, that there is at least 40 to 50 billion Earth-like planets, rocky, water, prime for life in the Goldilocks zone. And if we just look at life here on Earth, and we know that life is easy. Here we can't stop life. We're trying to, but you can't stop life here. So therefore, it must exist out there an awful lot. It's thousands and thousands of advanced ET civilizations out there.
Well, if that's not true, then God is a slow learner. For sure, if there's only one of us. And the Fermi paradox happened when during the beginning of the flying saucer era, Enrico Fermi and a couple of other scientists sat down together, and they were talking about flying saucers. And they, of course, all agreed that flying saucers didn't exist. Scientists love to turn out to be wrong in the end. that was a long time ago. And so the question then became, where is everybody? Why is it so quiet? And that is a damn good question to this day. Because if there are that many out there, and they all go through a phase of development, even a little bit like ours, each one of them, or many, many of them, have broadcast signals like television signals, which go way out there. They will continue to go out into the universe for a long ways, and yet we've never picked anything up. So what if it is a desert, Jimmy, What if we are alone? And that would explain that why so many people have experiences of God, because God has nowhere else to go and nothing else to do.
If we're alone, Whitley, that is a much scarier thought than the
Oh yes, it is
out there. If we're alone, let's just party. Let's burn this sucker down. Right? There's
no. I mean, we become incredibly precious if we're alone. We have to preserve every life and preserve the planet because, I mean, we're like the most precious, to my mind, we would be the most precious thing in the whole universe. I do not think we're alone at all. I have to tell you that I'm just speculating now because I've seen too much. I mean, I'd go so far as to say I know we're not alone, but because I have seen a lot, that's for sure.
Well, if the planet knew, if all of our Earthling brothers and sisters knew that there was life out there, then that gives you a reason for the future to preserve this planet, to shake hands, to take care of things. If you tell Earthlings that we are alone, I think that's chaos. I would
agree with you, but here's the thing though. I don't think we're alone. I'm almost certain we're not alone. And I'm fairly sure that at least some of these entities that I've encountered are probably originate in this physical universe on other planets. Although if that turns out not to be the case, I wouldn't be too surprised. But say it is the case. Why is it unfolding like this? I mean, it becomes a very good question. Why don't they land on the White House lawn? Why is it so secretive? What are they hiding? And why isn't it more straightforward? I mean, wouldn't you think that if you discovered another planet and there were intelligent creatures on it, the first thing you would want to do would not be to sneak into their bedrooms at night, but to engage with them and learn who they were and come to understand their world and their myths and their history from their standpoint? But instead, we get this weird, bizarre thing that makes me think that it may be that we are in contact with ET, and ET went insane a long time ago. And here we are, face to face with a technologically advanced species that is mad.
Maybe we're just not supposed to know.
Boy, I scared the dickens out of myself.
Yeah.
I didn't scare the audience too much. That is a scary thought. Ooh, God. Mad.
Yes.
And would that explain all this ridiculously crazy stuff that happens to us?
When I'm standing there with friends and in the middle of the day and see, which I have, right? See this giant ship appear, physical, not a light. I mean, like, right? And then just disappear. I have to say to myself, maybe we're just not supposed to know. Why is that? Why is that just appearing? And then apparently I don't have another way to describe it. I don't have the vocabulary to describe it, but to have it just phase out or go back to where it came from, whatever happened. But I know that is not our technology. That is something that
it popped in and out like that. What if it popped in and out of another universe?
Right. That's exactly my point. Right. Maybe we're not supposed to know. Maybe it's just something that. And here's the other thing.
Why not? I mean, what's wrong there? I don't get it.
I maybe, Whitley, you were talking about television signals earlier.
Yeah.
And that what may be sent back to us is just not in the same frame reference of time. And it is just, they are in another existence, in another time that doesn't line up with ours, and we can't see it, and we can't understand it, and we can't unscramble it because it's impossible for us, and until we figure out how to do it, of course. But that's going back to the Fermi paradox. It is out there, and it's out there a lot, but it's just in another stretch of time that we don't understand yet.
Well, I don't know. Something is wrong, and now I've creeped myself out with this idea of highly advanced technology and complete insanity, and because that fits the picture too well, frankly.
Would we? Last question. Would we understand? That's the whole thing. To have something, the White House lawn, and come down and start explaining things to us, would we understand? I mean, it doesn't have to be that far in the future as far as an advanced race goes. It could be 50 years.
If you look at what we were like in 1975 and what we're like now, I mean, you would think that if we came back to that time, you would think that these people were very advanced. And that's the scary thing, because, you know, it could mean, well, like the Spaniards, they come to the Incas and the Aztecs, and they are technologically very advanced compared to those cultures. But are they more advanced ethically? They are definitely not. They are ethical. They are moral monsters who have become corrupted by a fanatical belief system. And so the next thing you know, they're cutting these poor people's hands off and burning them at the stake and all kinds of things. And by the end of another 20 years, 9 out of 10 people in Mexico have died, been killed, enslaved, or died. And so never tell me that you don't think ET would be dangerous. I think ET is very dangerous. And I think that if ET does land on the White House lawn, we are going to have to comport ourselves very intelligently and wisely in order to make this thing come out for us in a way that helps us. Because at first, what we're going to would happen would be we'd see all this fantastic technology, and then we would want it. And that's exactly what happens, like in the cargo cults of the Pacific Islands during World War II, when they saw all of a sudden out of nowhere come these airplanes full of people who have Coca-Colas and meat and everything and wonderful tools and all this stuff. So what do? They try. They want that too. So they use bamboo and leaves. They clear fields, and they make bamboo and leaf airplanes and bamboo and leaf refrigerators, and they make noises that sound to them like the voices of the people, of the airmen, because they figure these are magical incantations. And they go up to they try to fly in the airplanes, and they try to open the refrigerators so that cold beer will come out. And when it doesn't work, they figure their incantations are off. Their prayers are not right because they're not being answered. And they see these other people have these prayers, and their prayers are being answered. So they're better than we are. And the next thing you know, liquor arrives, and with it, the end of their world as they knew it. And all of the things they loved and believed in turn out in their minds to be total BS. And they give up on themselves. And if you go to those islands, many of those islands now, you find hollow shells of the cultures that used to live there, used to be there. And those cultures were beautiful and deeply human, and they are lost to us forever. And if ET shows up like that, in the end, we will all be lost in the same way.
I did, yeah, with the cargo cults, where, and I can only imagine what was going through their minds. And once, a helicopter or an airplane is dropping the stuff out of the sky, what do they do all day long? They're out there looking, right? They're just looking to the sky. And when you see your first UFO, when you see your first craft, what do I find myself doing, Whitley? I'm out at night. I'm out doing this.
Yeah. Oh, this guy that was on Dreamland, John Martin, the sweetest guy in the world, who plays his guitar. He's a brilliant guitarist, and he plays his guitar. He's a classical guitarist. I know you'll be disappointed to hear, but
no.
Nevertheless, no, I'm kidding. He plays his guitar and sits out on his porch at night with a night vision camera, and UFOs show up every night. And you hear him you go to YouTube to John Martin, just on YouTube, search for him UFO, and you'll find him. And he's there playing his guitar and saying, "Oh, thank you. Oh, wonderful ones, sweet ones." It's so sweet. And they're coming and they're flashing themselves and all this stuff. And some of them are probably satellites, but a lot of them are really weird and they're not satellites. And you think to yourself, what if they land? What comes out? And what happens then? What's happening now is not dangerous. And over time, if more of us get used to this presence like he is, and just take it as part of life, when they do finally land, we will have space in ourselves for their presence. And I think my bottom line, we're getting toward the bottom of the hour here, is this, that I've talked tonight about a lot of things that are scary. I've scared myself, which I'm all too good at doing. But the bottom line is this: if they had not started ghosting around the way they have, but had just landed and come walking out into our midst, I know that would mean they were either indifferent to our welfare or did not want us to succeed. Their careful approach over years and years is fundamentally the most ethical way they could come into contact with us.
It must be because it's just not one ETC. It's got to be many and thousands. But they've had the opportunity to observe and study us for millennia, right? They must have.
I mean, we don't know that. We think that, but we don't know that. We do know what we do know is after 1947, a hell of a lot of them started to show up all of a sudden. But and we do know, if you read Jacques Vallée's books and some others, we do know that there are stories from the past that do suggest their presence. But what we don't know is if they have been here in very large numbers for a long time, or even if they were maybe involved in creating us. Because, I mean, look at us. We don't have much hair. We don't have any sexual seasonality. We have big, prominent genitals, men and women, and we're very physically sensitive to each other, and we have excellent memories and imaginations. We're not like the other primates who only mate a few weeks out of the year and have far fewer children than we do. We're ready to go at any time. I mean, you're ready to go right now. I'm ready to go right now. The audience is ready to go right now. We're always ready to go. And that's totally different. It's totally different from the other primates. We're different. So did someone come in and diddle with us and make us like this? And why the hell don't we have hair? no one else in the whole animal world is like us in this respect. We're strangely hairless. We have these decorative headgear on our heads. It's decorative. I mean, why doesn't my hair go down over my face, a whole face like an ape's? Why do I have this clean face? I don't happen to have a beard, but I could have. But women never have a beard, and so we're much more exposed. We're different, and we have these gigantic brains. We really know more than a chimpanzee or a gorilla. I mean, you understand, a chimpanzee cannot understand what a coin is. A chimpanzee cannot understand where anything came from. A chimpanzee cannot begin to understand how to read something. Anything like that. We are, like, I'm going to say it, from a different world.
Yeah. Completely unique.
Different world.
Yeah, completely unique.
And then totally dominating the planet. And we're having a massive catastrophic population explosion that is causing us to start shooting at each other and killing each other because there's too many of us. And instincts are kicking in, and we're justifying it. I've been reading Barbara Tuchman's book, The Guns of August, because I feel like we're sort of in a situation where we could easily be in the beginning of a world war. And you can see in the things the Kaiser was saying in 1904 and 1906 that he felt the Germans, he was reflecting the German people's instinctive feeling of being trapped by the world around them because their population was growing and they couldn't expand. And then they lose the war, they go essentially mad, and they decide, we are not going to take this anymore. We are going to steal Europe from the Europeans, and we're going to steal Russia from the Russians. And they go on the biggest mugging expedition in human history. And now they've worked it out, and they've accepted the fact that that's not a good idea. But not Putin. He hasn't accepted it, and he's pushing against the West because he feels confined. He wants space between him and the West.
Just pack up and move Russia further east. Right?
Yeah, the Chinese would want to have a chat about that.
Whitley, what a great conversation, my friend, and thank you for taking the time. Before we go, I know you're on KUNX with us here on the X, and that appears on Friday. When do you put out your new shows each week?
My new shows. Thank you for asking about my show. It exists. It's called Dreamland. It's a great show. I've been doing it since you were a little boy. And, it is right now, this week, the first time ever a CIA officer who has publicly discussed and has had ET experiences, Jim Semivan, is on the show, and he answered the questions of the public, not of the general public, but of my subscribers. They could ask him any question for an hour and a half. He answered them all, and that is our show this week. And it's absolutely fascinating for two reasons. First, the questions are fabulous. The listeners get it. Our people get it. They are highly sophisticated. You remember that question you put up at the beginning was a brilliant question. And that's what we are. We are doing this and we are succeeding. And Jim's answers are excellent and very forthright, and he's not hiding things at all. It's a huge moment in history happening here, because Jim's not the only one. John Martinez is on the show from time to time, and he is also a CIA officer who has had extraordinary experiences, and he talks about them. And there's others, and I think Lou Elizondo, who will not go on my show. He's scared of me. He's not scared of you. Therefore, you should be very afraid.
Right. Well, and Jim Semivan, afraid of me, but he's on your show.
So Jim won't go on your show, but he will go on mine, and Lou will go on yours. What are they trying to tell us here? Do I see a hidden message?
Yeah, and I love it. I can't wait to listen to your conversation with Jim Semivan, and when I saw that he was going to be on Dreamland, I just stopped and thought, man, Whitley is the perfect host to ask the right things and to move this forward. And I can't wait to hear your conversation with him. I'm being very serious.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's a good one, and it's going to be on until, well, it's for the free part is on now until Friday, and you can watch it on my YouTube channel, which is users/W Strieber, or you can go to unknowncountry.com and click on it there, and you get the whole show. Usually the subscribers get more of a show than the non-subscribers, but this time I felt like it's too important that everyone should have this without having to pay for it. So
I've said it 100 times. Unknown Country is the reason to have the internet.
Right? Well, it might be that Fade to Black is part of the reason too. And there's a lot. I mean, there's Linda with her files, and Coast is out there. There's a lot of good stuff out there. It really is. We're very fortunate.
Whitley, thank you so much, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your night. Happy meditating. That goes down in an hour, and then you've got your 3.
Yeah, that will happen tonight, as it does every night. And thanks for having me, and welcome to the world of video. It's great to see both of us side by side like this, although you freaked me out when you left me with the whole thing. It was weird.
Yeah, and I'll do it again, too.
Oh, yeah, I know you will.
Behave, my friend. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
You too.
Whitley Strieber. Again, everybody, it's so simple to do. unknowncountry.com and Strieber.com, and of course, YouTube. Everything is over at jimmychurchradio.com. We've got it throughout social media. What a great conversation tonight. And everybody in the chat, you guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And tomorrow night right here, Scott Wolter. It's going to be a great show. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. And this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night with Scott Wolter. Until then, I want you to be safe. It's time to fade to black.